Hi, everyone. My name is Paul Price. I'm CEO at Argyle Executive Forum, and welcome to this March Executive Spotlight on 2023 B2B event marketing strategies. And I'm delighted to share with you today, amongst many other things, our second half calendar of events, which we've just completed, along with the communities that we'll be addressing in those events. To present to you those sponsorship opportunities. But prior to that, some important data and insights around why event marketing remains such an important asset to B2B marketers generally. And so with that said, today I want to start with just a quick glimpse of the big picture, some of the most important marketing trends for B2B marketers that we think is worth reflecting on when considering event marketing for your business and to reach your customers. And then I want to spend some time on what we think constitutes the right approach to event marketing strategy in light of some of those insights that I've shared. And then, as I've shared with you, a very brief introduction to our second half plan and the opportunities that you may consider using on behalf of your business in partnership with us if you should so choose to do so. You know, building the pipeline and getting talent remain the two dominant CMO priorities. These issues haven't changed much in terms of their order. The talent issue has crept up in the last couple of years. As I'm sure you're all aware, it's getting tougher and tougher to get the right talent into marketing teams in particular. But regardless, overwhelmingly, CMOs, when asked the question these days of B2B businesses, overwhelmingly in the majority or semi-majority agree that building the pipeline remains their most important priority. And almost within the same question, when asked what the most successful top of funnel tactics are for building a pipeline, in-person events are overwhelmingly agreed to as one of the most successful, along with webinars following that not far after, at least usually in the top 5. And the other typical features of a thorough business-to-business marketing plan, including content marketing, video marketing, and a variety of the other important features, which we also wholeheartedly agree constitute a thoroughly integrated B2B marketing plan. But events and webinars have for some time now usually appeared in the top 5 when asked this question. And, you know, in consideration of those tactics, one of the things I think that's also very important to think about in the big picture when it comes to B2B marketing is the demographic change that's going on in the country, and in particular, the way in which both millennials and Gen X, essentially everybody born since the year 2000 or 1990, depending on when you decide to define those demographics, but how these folks are inheriting very important management roles throughout the country. And in particular, it may surprise some that they are increasingly adopting the role of B2B buyers in many companies, in such that the vast majority of B2B buyers, in whatever capacity that might be, are people born since about the year 2000. Now, what does this mean? It means, of course, when it comes to engaging those folks, these digital natives who've grown up with the internet as part of their toolkit, so to speak, both personally and professionally, and along with that, very much instincts towards the newer media of this age, less so the traditional media of this age. And I could spend a lot of time, in fact, I could probably do an entire webinar on the reversal of audience share from traditional media to digital media, and getting into some of those details. But nevertheless, ultimately, that means that we are challenged with engaging this very, very important audience in a multi-screen way. Everything from 5-inch screens to, I guess, 55-inch screens, depending on who you are and how you go about marketing your business. But this is an incredibly important feature because it has a lot of bearing when it comes to the challenges of targeting buyers. And corollary of that, of course, is that digital channels now drive the B2B marketing spend. They are overwhelmingly commanding share of the average B2B CMO's budget, something like 70-odd%, if not more, depending on who you are digital channels purely. And when we discriminate between owned, earned, and paid digital, we can break down and see the relative shares of those featuring the usual suspects of website, email, mobile marketing, of course, search and digital, SEO and social, and events down there coming in usually at around 8 to 10%, depending on the surveys that you see of the B2B marketing spend. Now, I'm going to get to that a little bit more in a second, but this has a very, very important feature driving the challenges of B2B marketing, which is, of course, digitally distributed content is ultimately driving a great deal of buyer research for some time now. Digitally distributed content, digital content marketing, if you wish, is named by buyers the #1 source of research when it comes to them instigating or investigating potential solutions to their particular business challenges, and as a result of that, affecting the choices they make when it comes to solution providers such as you. And so it throws a great deal of emphasis on content marketing as a partner in event marketing. And I want to place that on the table for later discussion because of its important role in driving research. But when it does come to lead generation tactics, event marketing is regularly and very predictably nominated as being one of the critical lead gen tactics, both in terms of helping to convert and accelerate leads at the middle and late stages of the funnel, but also, perhaps more importantly, generating qualified leads for the top of the funnel. And that's very much what Argyle Executive Forum itself is focused on doing so, and doing so through the lens of digital events. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second, but I want to just in the same sentence, just close on one very important insight when it comes to marketing in the 21st century, marketing in 2023 in the post-COVID era. And that is that if your customer is in the knowledge economy, they're probably working from home. In fact, at least 50% of the time, according to more recent data that I've come across in the last couple of months and in the few days that I've been preparing this webinar material. And it's also important to remember, without getting into the specifics of every industry listed in this very, very useful graphic, but every industry has some level of working from home. And when we think about the character of the decision makers and buyers that you may well be targeting, thinking about them both demographically and also the nature of their work, they are very much still fitting the description of someone working in a knowledge capacity for the company. So the likelihood is that a good many of your buyers are still working from home and choose to do so because that's what their preference is. Now, that also leads to very important changes in sales processes and models. The sales model itself is another topic I could spend a lot of time in one webinar alone on how that model has evolved since COVID. There are some very useful data points and studies that are available publicly now, helping us to understand how just dramatically the sales model has changed. The days of salespeople getting on the road, making visits to clients really has changed a great deal. And while those behaviors are still going on, they have changed a great deal in terms of their regularity, their frequency, according to the industry that salespeople are working in. That's not to take too great a leap here, but there are significantly many other very important signs. It's somewhere between 40 to 60% of all commercial leases around the country by capital city that are still vacant, and in most cases, many beginning to believe that they will do so. This is a very important implication, and it's one of the reasons why Argyle has decided to focus on providing digital events to its clients and on behalf of its audiences. And having done so, we've done so with a great deal of success by virtue of our growth rate in the last 2 or 3 years. Having said that, and reflecting on the nature of the changes that are going on that been most impactful for B2B marketers, I do want to, just before I get to the Canada, talk about some of the things that you should be thinking about doing now when it comes to your event marketing strategy, and offer you a few nudges, a few reminders, if you will, for those of you who are probably already doing them, or for those of you who are considering it for the first time, or early in your journey with event marketing, thinking about it. These are the sorts of rudimentary stuff, as well as some of the pro tips, I suppose, that we would like to share. The first of which, of course, is you, of course, should build an event marketing plan. And there are lots of ways to frame an event marketing plan. We have a very simple structure of thinking firstly about your community. Who is it that you are targeting, and the partners that are important to you to bring along the journey, both past, current, and new, the internal stakeholders that may also be affected by your event marketing content and plan, your staff, the board, the management. These are all very important audiences to consider. And we use the term community because increasingly we also respect the fact that the B2B buying process is increasingly a collaborative process. It's a process of not only the buyer specifically, but of course the user, as well as influencers, people like the board, the management. And so we find that a very helpful way of thinking about who it is you need to think about when it comes to putting your event marketing plan together. Secondly, what is the content that your events are going to carry? What is it that is going to engage the community that you are seeking to target? And amongst many other candidates for that content might be industry issues which are of interest to them, and may be of interest to them via your events. The product priorities that you have coming down the pipeline, and how that shapes potential opportunities for your buyers, the business solutions, of course, that you have to offer, and not least of which is event marketing has a very special role to play in helping you continue to elevate your brand by virtue of the content that you're carrying in these events and the experiences you create as a result of those events. Thirdly, clearly, what are the goals that you have in mind to put in perspective what events can do, and perhaps what are they less so designed to do? How can they be timed such that conversion rates are optimized? What are the sorts of lead generation volumes that you have in mind for events? There are some reasonable benchmarks to think about in that respect that we can share more directly at another time. Are there market differences for you that are important to consider, either in terms of segments or geographies or demography? And then finally, what are the goals for your brand and product reputation? What are the things that you want to keep in mind in curating an event for your audience that you want to make meaningful from a brand perspective? And then finally, before and after the fact, in terms of your plan, how are you going to go about audience recruitment? What are the content marketing considerations? We think it's very important that content marketing is considered integrated with your event marketing plan because of its critical role in supporting both before and after the event, disseminating the sorts of material that will help conversion and help the sales team in doing so, as well as what you can do to activate the interest that you've generated from that event. And after the fact, as well as before the fact, who ultimately did attend, who were the non-attendees. These are two very discrete outcomes of any event, and inevitably those that did attend you might think about communicating with somewhat differently to those that did not attend. This is one way of doing it. There are many other ways of doing it, but from our experience, this is at least the sort of mandatory things to think about. I want to talk a little bit about virtual events because they are very much here to stay. This is a correlation of various data points from surveys, not more than 12 months old, including our own survey. Virtual events, unsurprisingly, are about 35% from 2020 and 40% in terms of overall attendance. When asked, attendees, 72% intend to re-attend virtual events. 27% plan to, in fact, attend more different events, virtual events. And of our customer base, our client base, which we would hope many of you would join, 90% considering including virtual events in their investment plans going forward. And there are any number of reasons for this, but not least of which is virtual events offer you a great deal more reach. They are not constrained by the geography that they are hosted in. They are an incredibly reliable platform. They are not weather affected. They are not economy affected necessarily. Accessibility is a great deal more beneficial to the user and to you, the business sponsor, because virtual events have this inherent flexibility to them. Now, having said that, let me leave this subject with a few thoughts about what we think are the mandatories for an effective event strategy. And first of all, it may surprise some of you, or not, so to speak, that number one in terms of effective event strategy is your databases. Your reach depends entirely on the accuracy and the cleanliness of your databases in terms of helping define who it is that you want to reach, as well as the customers you've already got that you are hoping to further nurture through some sort of event marketing program. And I could spend an entire webinar just on this subject and how much emphasis we place in managing what is, in our view, one of the largest databases in our business of audience and potential buyers for you, providing a strategic advantage for you to depend on. Secondly, what is your lead generation ecosystem? It is altogether one thing to have a good database, but there are a number of other very important and dynamic accessories, if you wish, to having a strong database marketing program that supports event marketing. What are the platforms that you might choose to use to integrate with your event marketing? Of course, what is the content of that event marketing, and how is that content going to be experienced? And of course, then, who are the communities that you want to think about reaching, and how might those platforms and that content influence them in different ways? And finally, we are always experiencing conversations with our clients at various stages, whether it be startups that are recently funded or businesses that have been operating for some time, that the question of who it is that we sell to, who are our buyers, is an eternal question for lots and lots of reasons in this fast-moving marketplace of ours in the digital economy. The definitions and the behaviors and the attitudes are constantly evolving and morphing. And so it is always, in our view, important to use research to get regular feedback on that very, very important question. And that's for that reason that we offer research services, because of this very, very important strategic question. And finally, the question of whether you go about event marketing in-house or you decide to partner with someone like us, in our view, gets down to a question of the degree to which you're a relatively light user of event marketing, or it is a more integrated approach involving a larger scale, so to speak. And without dwelling on the differences, ultimately, if your lead generation targets are ambitious, and you need the correlating infrastructure to support that, this is something that we think is starting to add up to the need to working with a partner such as us, because we've figured out a lot of that infrastructure. We've put in place the sorts of things that successful event marketing strategies need, particularly the quality of the databases and our database in particular. And I think this is a little bit off topic, but I've mentioned earlier how fundamental content marketing is to successful event marketing. And I do urge you in passing to try some of the newer content marketing channels that are out there. There's a lot of very important and useful evolving influencer marketers out there. The whole question of branded audio, of blogging in particular is something that we've seen an extraordinary increase in interest of from our client base. Virtual events I've talked about, and I'm about to share with you our second half plan. Search, both organic and paid, not necessarily new, but I'm often surprised at the lack of investment by some of our clients in this area, and certainly the lack of even experimentation, because search is so important to the B2B buying process, as we've described earlier. I don't know where AR and VR are going to net out. The metaverse, so to speak, is a sort of an amorphous mass of many different digital platforms. It's not just the virtual reality landscape, but it is worth having that on your radar, because it's clear that soon there's going to be a couple of very important product releases in this space, which could have really important application for you. So that said, I'd like to share with you the first pass at our second half event plan. And in doing so, give you an opportunity to think about some of the things that you might well want to integrate in your program for the remainder of the year. I'll start by introducing that our invitation-only events are attended by C-suite and director level decision makers in businesses of 100 million or more. That's the definition of our overall audience, and the Argyle membership, which numbers some 1.25 odd plus million folks that we draw upon for our audiences for events, in addition to additional audience we may supplement these events for. Our events come in 4 different flavors, if you like. Our forums, which are half day and guarantee 250 leads as registrations in digital or hybrid format. Our hybrid format is a combination of live and simultaneously digitally streamed programs. Our summits are full or multi-day, guaranteeing 300 leads in terms of registrations, again, in digital or hybrid format. We have a very, very successful webinar business recording on behalf of our clients, dedicating 30 to 60 minutes for them to spend time on their own particular product pitch or solutions. We guarantee 150 leads of registration for them, of course, in a digital format. And then our experiences business, a business that has grown tremendously for us, involving what are essentially executive dinners of invitation only, based on target accounts that you nominate, of 8 to 10 guests at a minimum, often a good deal many more, often topping out at around 16 to 20. And of course, they're conducted live at venues throughout the country that we coordinate. If you become a digital event sponsor at Argyle, you enjoy a number of benefits, not least of which is experiencing a high quality lead pipeline that you can rely on, of up to 300 odd registrations per event. You're selling to very hard to get senior buyers and experiences and influencers, as I've mentioned. Our audience base is essentially the C-suite and director level. You grow your brand in a very immersive setting. Having your brand showcased on one of our events is something that has very little noise or surrounding interference with it, in a very, very immersive and intimate setting. You get to market quickly, or effectively you can be on board one of our events in a relatively short time frame and a relatively cost-effective number. It is a very high ROI targeted lead generation investment. There's very little wastage to what you're doing, and you should see within a reasonable period of time, depending on the buying cycle that our registrations are in, good results. And finally, it is national reach on a very convenient digital platform. There are no barriers to access by our audience from any geography, and as a result of that, it provides the sorts of reach that other events can't do, that are constrained by their geography. We conduct events that featured for particular communities. Every month we conduct an event for our CFO community, the finance management team, the CIO, a CISO, and the HR management team. On a quarterly basis, we conduct events targeting the small to medium business management community, data sciences, marketing, CX, UX, and we're introducing this last 6 months of 2023 an event focused on AI strategy. The content of our events is very important to discriminate itself against others by virtue of, firstly, we only use and invite operating speakers. The speakers that come along to our events are folks that are currently operating in their roles as senior decision makers and managers at peer level with our audience. And this is very important to why our events attract the numbers that they do. We deal in very current issues that are curated by our research staff and production teams. We remain editorially objective, which is essential to ensuring that folks rely on Argyle for as an important source of insight and information. And these are typically peppered heavily with cases and data. I'm not going to dwell on the detailed dates. I will urge you to go to our website where you'll see this calendar and the event outlines very, very shortly. You see that for the CFO community, for the finance team, for small to medium business operators and management teams, for the HR community, for CX, UX, marketing, CIO, CISO, AI strategy, and data sciences, we're operating events from a monthly basis in many cases to at least quarterly. And once again, I urge you to look at the themes that will be available, the agenda outlines that will be available online very, very shortly, along with a sense of the event shape in months. There are only 6 events conducted per month, targeting each of the different communities, as I've mentioned. So inventory is limited. You are most welcome to reach out to us to engage in discussions about perhaps participating in any one of these events as a result of that, based on what you think you might need. Now, having said that, because for many of you, your journey in event marketing may be relatively early, it may be that you're in a role that's new to you in this regard. And for that purpose, amongst many others, along with folks that know what they're doing and simply would like the benefit of some consultancy from us, we do offer an event strategy workshop where we will finish within a half a day or so, either in attendance or virtually, an outline of your event strategy based on covering the community content and goals that I mentioned earlier that are important to consider in your event marketing plan. You can include stakeholders so that there's some sense of engagement by them in how that event marketing plan is being shaped. You can include customer research that you may have, as well as research that we can conduct for you in relatively short timeframes to answer some of the questions that you feel are unanswered at the moment that require answers in order for you to have a fully informed event plan. We will also cover content marketing integration. And as I've mentioned, typically these workshops occur within about a half a day or less, and we're very happy to conduct them on site in person. I have had some experience in facilitating these workshops, our management team also. So we will bring along a facilitator to run the workshop, and the outcome will be a pretty sturdy event marketing strategy for you to consider. Folks, so much more territory I could have covered today in the time available. However, this is as far as I'll go. I hope you've enjoyed and found this helpful in thinking about your event marketing and its role for your business in lead generation for the remainder of the year. We would very much like to partner with you to do so if we haven't already. If we have already, we would love to renew our partnership, and we hope that you'll consider quickly the available opportunities for the second half that are now available, along with our webinars, our experiences, and by all means, those services we offer to support you in your lead generation efforts. Thank you once again for attending. By all means, if you have any questions, feel free to write me directly, pprice@argyleforum.com. And thank you once again. good luck with your event marketing for the rest of the year.